Good news for the political revolution. 3 Bernie-backed candidates will now be going to compete against Republicans in November. Now, these 3 candidates had won their primaries against Democrats in some different places. So let me tell you who these progressive warriors are. One of them is Misty K of Utah. Now, Misty Snow actually holds one of the distinctions of being the first transgender nominee from a major party to run for the U.S. Senate seat. Well, look at that. That's amazing. Talk about breaking ceilings. Well, you want to talk about how historic Hillary Clinton's nomination is. This is also historic in a different way. And she's a Bernie Sanders supporter. Now, according to the Salt Lake Tribune, she had never focused on her status as a transgender woman, also very unique, but instead has campaigned on a progressive platform that calls for a $15 an hour minimum wage, paid family leave, legalized marijuana, criminal justice reform, and free or reduced tuition for higher education. Now, does that platform sound familiar? Now, who did she run against? Well, her opponent was 35-year-old Jonathan Swinton, who was a Mormon, nothing wrong with that. That is a self-described conservative Democrat and centrist. In the primary, Swinton got crushed by Misty Snow, 59 to 40. Snow goes on to challenge Republican Mike Lee in November. Now, of course, she will be facing a very tough election. Early polling in June, commissioned by the Salt Lake Tribune and the Hinckley Institute of Politics, found that Lee holds a 51% to 37% lead on Snow. And as I said, it is sort of a conservative district. Now, good thing for Miss Snow is that there is a long time to go before the election, and she's pretty confident that once she gets some name recognition, that people will actually go to support her. So that's what I hope happens, so we can defeat that Mike Lee Republican. So, now, let's go to Colorado. In Colorado, another Misty Plowright, who is another transgender woman and a Bernie-crat, also claimed the Democratic nomination in Colorado's conservative 5th House District on Tuesday. She defeated Democratic candidate Donald Martinez with 58 to 41%. Now, Ms. Plowright campaigned on an anti-establishment platform, calling herself the anti-politician, and guess it, and look at this, right? She pledged to get money out of politics. Now, she'll run against Republican Representative Doug Lamborn in November. Now, we've got another one. This one's in New York. Professor Zephyr Teachout. According to the Huffington Post, Teachout breezed to victory in the Democratic primary for New York's 19th congressional district. Now, the district generally leans Democratic, right? They went for Obama in both 2008 and 2012, but of course during Obama's first term, the district's voters elected a Republican Chris Gibson, to the House. Now, Gibson is stepping down, which makes it a pretty good opportunity for a Democrat, and especially a Bernie-crat, to win in November. So it seems very favorable for Teachout. Now, she will face off against John Faso, who is a Republican and former member of the New York State Assembly. Now, a little background on Zephyr Teachout. She is a law professor who specializes in the study of corruption and corporate power. You see a theme here, right? Her campaign is again focused on money in politics. So, all right. So here you have people turning out to vote against the system of corruption in our political system. If you as a politician run on that, just as Dave Brott ran on that same platform over on the Republican side and ousted Eric Cantor, well, look at that. Golly gee, you win. Or at least you have a better chance of winning than running as a centrist Democrat. Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious why, right? If you're in a conservative district, are you going to go for conservative or conservative light? Or if you're in a progressive, in a conservative district, which I know you guys exist, I know it's lonely there, I understand. We want to help you. and we should help you by putting forward progressives in those areas. Yeah, you might not win, but you might be surprised, especially when you start talking about how money in politics is corrupting our system. Even Republicans, hardcore conservatives, mostly agree with, yeah, I don't want my politicians being bought from people out of state. Even if you're against unions that are giving money to politicians, which I'm against all money in politics. I don't care where it comes from. If it's union, if it's corporation, if it's wealthy donor, I'm not in favor of that. I want public financing of elections where everybody gets the same amount of money. I think that's the most fair and the best thing to get the corruption out of our politics. But here's the other thing, right? People are fed up with the system. Bernie Sanders didn't get 46% of all votes in the Democratic primary just because he's a dynamic speaker. In fact, he's everything that conventional wisdom says you shouldn't be in politics. He gets a little loud, which I like. He gets, he's very hoarse. He's got the messy hair. But the thing is, he goes out and he talks about policy and about how corrupt the system has gotten. And that, right now, with so many people hurting, that resonates. And these progressives will go on to fight in the primaries in November. And they all triumphed over the regular establishment Democrats, showing that within local Democratic parties, there is for sure a thirst for change. And see, this is how the political revolution happens, from the ground up. Forget about the presidential race for a moment, right? Because the real battle is in your backyards, your school boards, your senators, your state houses. And there's never been a better time or reason to get involved in your local politics. It's just like what Tom Hartman says, man. Democracy is not a spectator sport. And he also says, tag, you're it.